Is there a point where it's okay for a fan to say, I'm done, I'm not a fan of this team anymore? I'm just posing the question, is there a point where it's okay to detach yourself to say, this isn't worth it? I'm not saying become a Chiefs fan because you're the best team. Is there a point where it's okay for a fan to say, I'm done, I'm not a fan of this team anymore?
Philly pride insists that's all. Andrew Rappin and Wild Bulls. Together they talk sports and dreams. Right behind the scenes. It seems Philly verse and wide. Hit the call. Who's the greatest? Who will fall with this rivalry? Loud and clear. Join the chat. It's time to cheer. Sports and culture all in one. Catch the fire, feel the fun. Andrew Sistad, Brad unite. Philly NY in the spotlight.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 15. Sistad is unavailable. It is just me, going solo. A lot to get to on the episode. Joe Douglas has been fired. We have a Joe Douglas fired reaction episode posted up on our YouTube and Spotify page, so go check it out for more of an in-depth analysis, commentary on the Joe Douglas firing and the dysfunctional New York Jets. We're going to talk about that. I want to pose a question about the Joe Douglas firing. Since that's not here, I would love to get his response on it. So I'm really going to pose it and talk through it a little bit as well. But the question I want to pose is there a time, is there a point as a fan that you can get to where you just say, I've had enough, and you just detach yourself from the team and you just decide, I'm not rooting for them anymore? Is there a point? We're gonna explore that. We're going to talk a little bit about the Jets' loss to Colts. I don't really have it in me to talk much about it. I hate the Jets. The Eagles won over the Commanders on Thursday Night Football, first place in the NFC East. So we're going to have to wait another week to get Sistad's take on his dominant 8-2 Philadelphia Eagles. I want to talk about Juan Soto's free agency. We haven't talked about it on this pod at all. We talked about it we did a Yankees off-season episode. That's up on our YouTube and Spotify page. We haven't talked about it on our regular episodes. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his fit for the Yankees, Mets, and the Phillies, all three teams that we cover here. And along the lines of what I was saying, asking about, is there a point when it's okay to not be a fan anymore regarding Joe Douglas and the Jets situation? I had a personal experience a few days ago that I want to talk through. I want to explore, and it made me think. Maybe I'm not a diehard fan. Am I really very out there? We had this episode where we talked to my friend Jack, who's not a sports fan, and we explored a 32-year-old that doesn't like sports. How about a diehard sports fan that acts differently than most other diehard sports fans? So I want to talk about that. I'm going to bring up a personal experience I had. We're, of course, not going to have the Twitter segment, since that's not bringing the tweets to this episode. We will have subscriber questions. I have two good ones I think are really interesting for us to talk about. So we're going to get into it now. Let's start with the Joe Douglas firing. Now, like I said, there's an episode that was just posted. Check it out. Me and Brad Dallas dove into the dysfunction of Woody Johnson, the meddling of Woody Johnson, and examined everything that went wrong with the Jets. They're a disaster. This season sucks. This team's so unlikable. They're high-end elite defensive players have seemingly all taken a step back. The defense as a whole is not good. Since Saleh was fired, it's gotten much worse. Is that a coincidence? I don't know, but it's bad. Aaron Rodgers is fine. I don't make this out to be. I think if he was playing this way and the Jets defense was as good as it was the last couple of years, I think the Jets would be in a good position. I said on the Joe Douglas fired up reaction episode that if Greg Zuerlein had the season he had last year, the Jets would be in a much different situation and guys wouldn't be getting fired. So the point is that the kicker was bad. The defense is bad. Rodgers isn't elevating the team. He might be making it worse. He's definitely not elevating it. Garrett Wilson has been really good, but he's also made some bad plays. Breece Hall's had some games where he's been non-existent, had no burst, was not able to make a guy miss. Devontae Adams, it doesn't make any sense how he doesn't have any chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. How? How can you have all this individual talent and be this bad? I just don't want to talk about the Jets that much, the game. It just makes me think, though, as I'm talking about this, and I'm thinking about how frustrated this season has been as a Jets fan. Is there a point as a fan when it's okay to just say, I'm done? Like, no, I'm done. This team isn't worth my time. It's not worth my negative emotions. It's not worth my energy. It's not worth my thought process. How, as a Jets fan, are you happy watching the Jets? I'm a very happy person. I turn on the Jets Sunday at 1. I'm not happy. The Jets were winning by 8 points in the fourth quarter, and Jess was like, why do you look so sad? They're winning. I said they're going to lose. And then, for some reason, after they lost, Jess asked me, oh, they won? No, they lost. How did they lose? The Jets. That's pretty much how the conversation went. Woody Johnson is the problem. For some reason, been in denial about this. That, oh, no, this regime's different. That they have the roster. Rodgers is going to elevate them. But it's the same. No, the same old Jets is stupid. But it's the same concept. Woody Johnson's meddling. They had what seemingly looked like it had a roster that had the potential to be great. They needed a great quarterback. Everything else about the team looked great the last couple of seasons. The offensive line didn't, but ironically enough, that's actually been pretty good this year. Who cares? It's all relative. Who cares? It's not going to change. Woody Johnson's going to hire a new GM. He's going to meddle there. Woody Johnson's going to make a decision on the coach, tell the GM who his coach is. The coach is going to report to the owner. The GM's going to report to the owner. The owner's going to blame everyone else, never blame himself. The disaster will continue. It's not going to change. And as a fan, you keep thinking and hoping. This is what we do as sports fans. We hope this year will be different. This GM coach regime will be different. This rebuild will be different. How many times are we going to keep telling ourselves that with Woody Johnson? Could he get lucky and they can end up getting a quarterback to fall to them? It's possible. Could they have a good year or two with the right coach? We've seen Woody Johnson's ownership be able to do that. It's possible. But sustained success, if that's what you want as a fan, which is what I want, more important to me than Super Bowls at a Super Bowl is sustained success. It's not happening with Woody Johnson. And I've accepted it. And I might be a little bit over the top doom and gloom right now because this season has been horrible. I'm not going to not be a Jets fan, by the way. I'm just posing the question, is there a point where it's okay to detach yourself to say, this isn't worth it. Why am I doing this to myself? I'm not saying become a Chiefs fan because you're the best team. That'd be against Brad Sistad's fan rulebook. But at a certain point, for our own mental health, like we're as much as we care about the teams that we root for, sports is an entertainment. And if it's negatively impacting you as a person, your mood, your happiness, you should consider stopping. This whole idea of you must be loyal to your team. I am, but I'm still questioning whether it's a real thing. Yet you don't see I'm not going to stop. I'm going to root for the Jets. I'm not going to have hope going into next season. Even if for some reason they bring in a new GM, new coach, Mike McCarthy, Rex Ryan, Rodgers is back. Devontae's back. This year will be different. No, it won't. At least I won't go into it thinking it will be different. So please comment on the video. Comment below. You give me your opinion. Give us your feedback. Is there a point where it's okay for a fan to say, I'm done. I'm not a fan of this team anymore? If you're listening on Spotify, I'll be putting up the poll on Spotify. So give us your answer. If you're watching on YouTube, comment below. Everybody, thanks for tuning in, by the way. This is going to be a fun one without Sistad. I'm going solo. Regarding, like I said, I don't want to talk that much about this Jets game, this loss to the Colts. The Jets are 3-8. They have a bye week. I mean, at this point, as a fan of the Jets, every week's going to be a bye week. I'm not watching them. I'm watching Red Zone. They don't deserve my undivided attention on a Sunday. Thankfully for the NFL, for NFL fans, They pretty much have all Sunday at 1 o'clock games. I think it's all Sunday at 1 o'clock games. There's the Week 18 against the Dolphins is a flex game, which they could have flexed for prime time, thinking that Jets Dolphins could have been the AFC East division on the line. Yeah, that worked out. It worked out well. 3-8. Back to that question real quickly, though. I just realized something. To add to the question, deciding to quit on the team as a fan for the season and forever, both are legitimate questions. I was talking about forever, but as you can see what I just said, I'm essentially quitting them on. I've had enough for the season, so I'm doing that. I'm sure there's fans out there, you're probably watching, listening, saying that you wouldn't do that. You're going to watch every game the rest of the season. You're going to watch them. I don't know what you're going to root for. The tank? You're still holding out hope they can win out? Go 9-8? I mean, it's hilarious to think about. It's not 9-8. They still probably wouldn't make the playoffs, but there's a better chance they lose out than win. So I mean, you know why? If you're a fan and that's where your mind is right now, you just will never stop, quit. You will never quit. You will never give up hope. And I think that's a special type of hopeful person. So good for you. I'm not like that. But back to this loss. If you're upset about the Jets losing to the Colts, at this point, that's on you. I'm sorry. I'm talking to you Jets fans. That's on you. That's not on the team. They've proven who they are. They've proven it all season long. If you believed or hoped that they were going to turn around or this week be different, again, I'm sorry. I know you're a diehard fan. You just have to own this. It's on you. We know who they are. They're not a good team. Devontae Adams didn't work. Firing Robert Saleh didn't work. Hassan Reddick deciding to show up so we can get out of here next year, and then it doesn't have to continue this year like next year. Like the contract, last year the contract didn't happen. That didn't work. Joe Douglas getting fired will not work. Aaron Rodgers coming back next year won't work. Replacing him with a rookie quarterback in the draft won't work. Getting Rex Ryan in here won't work. Bringing in Mike McCarthy to team up with Aaron Rodgers again. Oh, the magic of the Green Bay Packers. It's done. Rodgers isn't the same. If Rodgers and Devontae don't have the chemistry they had with Green Bay, why would you expect all of a sudden McCarthy, who at the time, apparently there were a lot of issues between him and Rodgers anyway. Who knows how much of it is true, but a lot of reported issues. All of a sudden it's going to be, yeah, he said McCarthy comes to the Jets and Rodgers comes back and Devontae comes back and it's 2012. No, it's over. Breece Hall looked good in this game. I like Breece Hall. I thought Devontae actually looked pretty good in this game too. The Rodgers was fine. The defense is pathetic. Sauce Gardner he's a great corner. What he did his first couple of years, not getting beat like ever, created such a ridiculously high standard where now he gives up his play to Pierce with the game on the line. Everybody's so furious at Sauce Gardner. He's taken a step back. He's still one of the best corners. He doesn't get beat or targeted that much throughout the season. But the defense is bad. They let Huff and JFM go, and they brought in Reddick, and it's not good. And then obviously Jermaine Johnson's injury hurt them. The defense has taken a huge step back. It's taken a step back since Saleh left. Again, I don't know if that's just causation versus correlation. I don't know. I don't really care. Again, I'm detaching myself from the Jets the rest of this season. Not forever, although I think it's okay. It's understandable. But no, I'm done with them this season. Switching over, staying in the NFL, I want to talk about the Eagles for a second. So, we're gonna get Sistad's take eventually. He's unavailable this week, like I said. They won 26-18 over Washington on Thursday Night Football. They're 8-2. Remember, this is the same team that after a 2-2 start, where I think it was 2-1 start, that Sistad said he was out on them and he refused to. He will not be fooled again and get back in. By the way, I don't know if you guys have noticed this. Sistad talks about the Eagles, to me, a Jets fan, the same way that he complains Yankee fans talk to other baseball fans about. He acts like the Eagles haven't had success and he's so frustrated and they've disappointed the fan base year after year. They're in the playoffs every year. They have a franchise quarterback. They won a Super Bowl a couple years ago. They've been to another one. Because they had a bad end of the season last year and lost in the playoffs, he's acting like they're a disaster, and then they were like 2-1. I mean, they're a great team anyway. Next up, Sunday night against the Rams. That's at the Rams, at LA. Saquon is having statistically his best season in the NFL, and it's not that surprising. You put him in a real offense with a real quarterback, with real receivers, with a real offensive line, and you're seeing what he can do. Because he's been a very, very good running back, putting up really, really good numbers in an offense with a bad quarterback, with a terrible offensive line, with a bad receiving corps. Now you're seeing what Saquon can be in a real offense with a real offensive line. Are they the second best team in the NFC, by the way? I think the Lions are. I mean, we'd all agree the Lions are the clear number one team right now. I think the Eagles are the second best team. They're really very well balanced. Looking at the rest of their season schedule, I don't think they lose more than 2 games. They have a game at Baltimore, which, by the way, not surprising if they win, but they'll be underdogs. And then they have a game at Washington and versus the Steelers. Maybe they lose one of those 2 games. 13-4, maybe 14-3, and he was about to be out of them. Some metrics for you guys. Jalen Hurts is number 1 in EPA. That's expected points added. That's because he's really good in high leverage situations, really good on fourth downs, really good in the red zone. His ability to run has a huge impact on that. Jalen Hurts is 3rd in CPOE, which is completion percentage over expected. And, this is interesting, he's actually 2nd in CPOE with a 10% garbage time filter. So you basically say garbage time, we don't really value that for a lot of different reasons. The way teams are playing defense, the importance of the game, but really just the way teams are defending you. So he's 2nd in CPOE if you factor in garbage time. 3rd if you just take everything into account, context independent. Eagles team rankings: pass rush win rate, 10th in the NFL. Run stop win rate, 2nd in the NFL. Pass block win rate, so the offensive line now, 2nd in the NFL. Run block win rate, 11th in the NFL. 10th, 2nd, 11th at the offensive line, important offensive line metrics. Offense and defensive line metrics. They are one of only 3 teams to be top 11 in all 4 metrics. The Chiefs and the Vikings are the other 2. The Eagles are elite. When a team is great at the O-line, great at the defensive line, they have a franchise quarterback, they have 2 high-end wide receivers, a high-end running back, that team is going to be great. The Eagles are the second best team in the NFC, and they have a very legitimate chance at competing for a Super Bowl this year. I just want to reiterate that on the episode that Sistad's not here, because he'll complain about Sirianni going for it on 4th and 2 and say that he's just being aggressive for the point of being aggressive. I'm going to make fun of him a lot while he's not here. I make fun of him when he's here, so it's okay. I mean, you guys all know this. I do this to his face. If he listens to this and watches this, he'll probably laugh. So, yeah, he sucks. Again, Eagles, Sunday Night Football at the Rams. All right, so I want to talk about Juan Soto. If you haven't heard, Juan Soto was a free agent. He played for the Yankees this past season. All right, to be serious, though, I don't know when he's going to sign. I don't know what the terms will be. I don't know what team he will sign with. But we know that Juan Soto is an elite hitter. Elite hitter. That has the profile that projects reliability. A high floor. Let me explain this a little bit. When you have a hitter that's in the 99th to 100th percentile year after year in chase rate, meaning he does not swing at pitches outside of the strike zone, and you have a hitter that's in the 95th percentile year after year at swinging at pitches in the zone. As a major league hitter, or as a baseball hitter, as a baseball player on any level, little league, the more you swing at pitches inside the strike zone, combined with the less you swing at pitches outside the zone, the more likely you are to make contact and quality contact. Now, when you have a player that's in the 98th percentile year after year in hard contact, you take those three metrics and you say, yeah, this guy at the very worst is going to be great every single season. You take an aggressive hitter, they might have great stretches. They might have a year where they put up a 130 WRC plus. Adolis Garcia, superstar one year. Next year below league average. Why? It's because he's aggressive. And when you're really aggressive, you're overly aggressive, you swing up pitches outside the zone, you're going to go through a stretch where you're hot and you got the ball rolling, you get confidence going. Combined with some flukiness, maybe you happen to get some pitches to hit, maybe pitchers are throwing you more pitches over the plate, and then they realize the next year, he's a really aggressive hitter, let's throw him more off-speed pitches, let's throw him pitches out of the zone, make him prove to us that he won't chase. And then he chases, and he has a 95 WRC plus, below league average hitter. Now, I'm not giving you Adolis Garcia specific stats, and I don't mean to pick him Adolis Garcia. It's just that concept. This stat talks about Nick Castellanos being that aggressive hitter. That's the concept. You can't project year to year with a high reliability because there's so much flukiness into aggressive profile, into chasing, so much impact on batting average on ball and play. But because Soto doesn't swing at pitches outside the zone, hammers pitches inside the zone, you can project very confidently say there's going to be some, level of a little bit up and down, but you're talking about a 140 WRC plus, 150 WRC plus as the floor. The ceiling is the best hitter in baseball. This year he was the third best hitter in baseball. Maybe he was a second, depending on which metric you want to look at. But I would say he's third, Judge Ohtani Soto. But you don't need to get into breaking that down. He's not a perfect player. I've talked about it a lot. His outfield defense is bad. The Yankees try to hide him in right field with a short porch, less ground to cover. He was fine. He was acceptable. Wasn't good. He gets bad jumps. He takes bad routes. He has a below league average arm, maybe league average at best. And this year he was better defensively than he has been the last few seasons. It's almost like a contract year. He was more focused, more locked in. He didn't make any of his the last couple seasons before that, he would make random dropping fly balls. I know, cue the Judge jokes, but he would actually do that randomly, a few times a season. He's a bad base runner. He's not very fast. He's not a very smart base runner. He's not good at taking extra bases. He gets thrown out on the base paths a lot. He does this thing. Me and Greg DeSalvo talked about it on the Let's More on the Yankees 2024 season episode. By the way, that episode has over 2.3K views, so it's a good episode apparently. I don't know. Maybe it's trending. Check it out if you haven't. But yeah, he would do this thing where he gets a big clutch hit in the 8th inning, the 9th inning. Maybe it's a RBI single with a runner on second, gives them the lead, and for some reason it's top 9, and for some reason he decides to round first and go for second, and then he gets thrown out by 20 feet. Look, I'm just pointing out that he's not a perfect player. He's the perfect hitter, which, more than makes up for his other deficiencies as a player. He's going to get a big contract. You see $600 million, you see $700 million, I don't know. I was with some of my friends, I predicted 15 for, I think, 550, I said, something like that. Basically 15 for $40 million a year for 15 years. Or 14 years, whatever, something like that I projected. 14 for 540 or whatever. So I want to talk about Fanatics and Analytics, New York, Philly. There's 3 baseball teams. The Yankees we talk about a lot. The Phillies we talk about a good amount. The Mets, we don't ignore the Mets, but Sistad's a Phillies fan, I'm a Yankees fan, so we tend to talk about those two teams more when we talk about baseball. I want to talk about Soto to all 3 teams. You probably are aware if you follow baseball, if you follow the offseason at all. If you're not, now you are. Soto is most linked in the media to the Yankees, the incumbent team he's on. Also a huge market. To the Yankees, they spend a lot of money. They great revenue. They generate a lot of money. Biggest brand in the sport. We all know that. And the Mets. Why the Mets? Big market, yep. Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen has a lot of money. And He was a Mets fan, and he bought the Mets. Why did he buy the Mets? Maybe he saw it as a good investment. Maybe. Maybe he just thought it'd be really fun to own a sports franchise, especially the one that he rooted for as a child throughout his childhood and growing up into adulthood. I can run this team. And you know what? I could change the way that this team is run. Because I don't like the way the Wilpons are running it. Well, he spent a lot of money. Biggest payroll in baseball. He spent money to pay off mistakes. Verlander, Scherzer. Sends these guys out, eats the contracts, and gets prospects back. As opposed to just having the trade partner accept a portion of the contract and not send any quality prospects back. He says, I'll cover the entire salary. I'll eat it all. Give me the prospects. So Cohen is a major player here. It is not a huge change. He'll still be in New York. The Mets just made the NLCS. How badly does Steve Cohen and David Stearns, the Mets general manager, want Juan Soto? How far are they willing to go? And what is important to Juan Soto? Because you listen to ESPN, you listen to WFAN, you read articles, you talk to most people, and everyone's so convinced, oh, it's whoever gives them the most money. I don't know that. Realistically, if someone offers 15 years for $620 million compared to 15 years for $610 million, is that like always going to take more money? Like where's that line? I think we'd all agree at that point, like that's the same essentially. I mean, $10 million for a normal people like us, it's a lot of money. But when you're talking about that amount of money, it's nothing. So but where is that line? I don't know. What's important to him? Does he want to play on the West Coast? Does he want to play on the East Coast? Does he want to play in a team that he can win with? Does he want to play in it? Does he want the biggest contract? Does he want the biggest average annual value contract? Would he rather 10 years for $500 million? Or would he rather 15 years for $620 million? I'm just throwing out numbers here. But what is important to him? Does he want just the biggest total amount? Now remember, he's not going to get the bigger total than Ohtani, but with the deferrals, like the current value contract, he can get more, potentially. From the Mets' perspective, there's an obvious need for a star hitter. There's an obvious need for a star to market the franchise around other than Lindor. Pete Alonso's a free agent. Even if he's back, he's not that player. He doesn't elevate the lineup like Juan Soto does. He doesn't elevate the Mets brand like Juan Soto would. There's an obvious fit there. Right field is open. Starling Marte they have, but he's 36. Can't really play the outfield anymore. Signed for one more season at $20 million. Maybe the Mets DFA and maybe they keep him as a fourth outfielder, bench player. I don't know. But you're not going to let a $36-year-old Starling Marte on his last year of his contract even somewhat make you question, stop and think for a second to go after Juan Soto. That's no way. So there's an obvious opening in right field. You don't even want Marte to play in right field if you're really going into spring training and looking to put the best roster on out there, which the Mets are. Obvious need. Lindor's a switch hitter. Juan Soto would be by far their best hitter. They bring Pete back. The Lindor, Soto, Pete combo would be electric. I mean, unbelievable. Getting Soto on base in front of the big power bat like Pete. You don't have to worry about Soto in New York for people that actually think that's a big deal. I don't. I think it's very small percentage of people can't handle it. I don't really believe in that much. But for those of you that do, we've seen him. If he can handle it with the Yankees, he can handle it with the Mets. He's stadium proof. It's not like, short porch. No. Yeah, he had the most home runs he had the single season high in home runs this year, but not because of short porch. He was not hitting porch shots. He has power to all fields, left, center, right. When he pulls his home runs, he destroys it. So he's stadium proof. You put a bigger outfield in, and maybe he gets more doubles. I mean, Yankee Stadium historically every year is the least or second least double friendly stadium. You pretty much get home runs and singles. Obvious fit for the Mets. Obvious fit financially. They have the money. They have an owner looking to spend the money or willing to spend the money on the right player. They have the fit positionally. They have the fit stylistically in that lineup. They have the righty-lefty fit. They have the big market fit. Soto's a great option for the Mets. Are the Mets a great option for Soto? We're going to explore that. It depends on what he wants. I don't look at the Mets and say, hey, the Mets are clearly a championship contender for the next 15 years. I'd say there's two teams you could say that about. If Juan Soto says, my number one priority, understanding that he's going to get a huge contract no matter what, if he says his number one priority, with financials being close, I want to go to a team, an organization that gives me the most likely opportunity to compete on a winning team, to compete for a championship, to be in the playoffs every single year for 15 years. There's two teams in Major League Baseball that should offer a player, a fan, anyone that sort of confidence. The Yankees and the Dodgers. Why? One, because of the money they spend. That's part of it. That's a big part of it. Secondly, because of the precedent of long-term sustained success, organizational success. And you hear Yankee fans cry about they haven't won a World Series. The Yankees are good every single year. The one bad season they had recently, their best player ran into the wall and missed a third of the season. And they were still over 500. And they had a lot of other things go wrong. And I'm not excusing that season, but that's the worst case scenario over a, what are we talking about, 9-year period right now? So the Dodgers, they develop, they trade, they sign free agents. They have an ownership and a front office, just like the Yankees, that intends every single offseason to build a team that can go out and win. Most teams don't do that. The Yankees and the Dodgers do that, and they do it well, and they have a precedent for that. If that's what Soto cares about the most, he's going to the Yankees or the Dodgers. Now, he may view it differently, but objectively, those are the only two teams you could say that about. The Braves, I would say if you want to add a third team, the Braves too. The only reason why I wouldn't say the Braves is because while they've done an amazing job of building their current roster, that current roster has a shelf life, and I'm not so sure that ownership group is as determined to compete and not do a rebuild as the Yankees and Dodgers are. But we can throw in the Braves too. That's fine. I just don't think the Braves are really in play for Soto. So that's why I didn't include them. Phillies. Why are they a fit? Why aren't you hearing about the Phillies? I haven't really heard or seen much about the Phillies being linked to Soto. I mean, I really don't know the Phillies' thirst for bringing in the big payroll, the big, massive contract right now. It's not as clear because of that, the financial fit, because they have some high salary players. Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Nicholas Castellanos, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, to a lesser extent Taijuan Walker making like 18 mil. That's kind of a lot of big-ish type salary contracts. Big market. Phillies could definitely afford it. If you're going to be willing to go into that high Steve Cohen luxury tax tier, this is the player to do it for. They have a fit in the outfield. I mean, Cassie's a corner outfielder. They don't really, I mean, they can, again, easily make this work. Let him play right field or left field. Now, you wouldn't want Casty in a corner and Soto in a corner, and then just say, I don't know, Rojas in center. You wouldn't really want to do that because that's two terrible corner outfielders. But it's not like we're that far removed. We're 2 years removed from when the Phillies just said, I don't care about defense. And they had Schwarber in the outfield and they had Casty in the outfield. We're not that far removed from that. Now, you could say they learned from that and changed. That's why Schwarber's at first base. Schwarber's at DH. That's why Harper's at first, Schwarber's at DH. You could say that, but again, maybe you make an exception for Soto. I think the other option is you partner Cassie with a prospect, get rid of the contract, maybe DFA him. I don't know. You're not quite, you want to give Soto the big contract and DFA Cassie. I don't know. It's not as clear of a fit financially and positionally as the Mets. Stylistically, though, Sistat talked about this right after the Phillies lost to the Mets. A lot of guys were chasing. They were being overly aggressive, swinging to first pitches, swinging at pitches out of the zone. They got in a panic, desperate mode in that series, and they kept chasing, and they lost, and they couldn't score. Now, Juan Soto would change that. Not only would Juan Soto be a guy who doesn't do that, but in a less quantifiable way, he changes the culture of the lineup. He did it with the Yankees. I mean, again, can't quantify this. other than just to say, I watched it every day. I watched his impact on the lineup. Juan Soto, his confidence, his detailed approach at the plate has an impact on his teammates. It's an impact on other guys in the lineup. I saw it happen, and I can tell you, worst case scenario, that the impact's not there, you're getting a huge disciplined bat and an elite bat in that lineup. That would elevate a team that was really good last year. That's been really good. It doesn't have that many areas you say, yeah, let's improve there. Let's improve there. Maybe third base with Bohm. Bohm's a pretty good, he's a above league average starting third baseman. Not that easy to improve. Maybe Stott. Maybe, but you're getting good defense, you're getting good base, you're getting things from Stott that you're not getting around the rest of the roster. So I don't know. Maybe they improve those. They can improve at those positions. There's not that many areas to improve in the roster. The starting pitching seems pretty set. Maybe they can use one more starter. Yeah, they can improve the bullpen. Maybe they bring back Hoffman. Maybe they go after Tanner Scott. Maybe they make a trade for a reliever. But if the Phillies want to make, and Dombrowski, aggressive GM, he does not mess around. Maybe they get in on Soto. Maybe they decide we want him. And more importantly, we don't want the Mets to get him. Division rival. Maybe that inspires us to get into it more. I don't know. Not as clear of a fit financially or positionally, but stylistically, just as much of a fit as the Mets. Not really hearing him much about Soto to the Phillies, though. So maybe it's not. Maybe they're really not interested. Maybe it's just not being reported, or maybe it's just the media has caught on to it, and it's just we all act as sheep. You're not seeing it, so we're not believing it. I'll throw it out there, though, as a possibility. You got it. I mean, it's Juan Soto. So the Yankees. So the Yankees are an obvious fit because, one, they just had him. They're the incumbent franchise. He provided a kind of, take this as an insult to him, but the Robin to Aaron Judge's Batman. I mean, it's kind of insulting to Soto because, like I said, he's like a top 3 hitter in all of baseball. But the duo of Judge and Soto and Judge, as a Yankee fan, was so fun to watch all season. As a baseball fan, is incredibly exciting to watch, to admire. The perfect combination, lefty, righty, both high on base guys, one great power guy, one out of this world power bat, one out of this world contact bat. And so, I mean, just a great combination. We've seen what the Yankees are like without another great hitter. Now, you lose Soto, you can get other really good players, other great hitters. There's other ways to build this roster out and be a World Series contender. I don't doubt that the Yankees would do that if they do lose out on Soto. Because unlike most Yankee fans out there, I actually like Brian Cashman. I respect Brian Cashman, and I trust Brian Cashman because he's done a lot of building really good baseball teams year after year after year. So I do trust him. I was talking about the Jets earlier. How can you, as a Jets fan, and I know like people that are Jets fans and Yankee fans, and they complain about the Yankees, and then they complain about the Jets the next day, and then no point in their mind do they think, wait a second, what am I talking about? The Yankees are perennial winners. You're great every year. They don't have this crazy organizational stuff. You don't hear about all this drama, guys getting fired, locker room arguments, and manager going to the owner, and the GM getting, like, you don't get that. The Yankees are buttoned up. Anyway, off tangent. Soto's an obvious fit for the Yankees. That said, it's not positionally a great fit, as we saw this year. Judge's best position is right field. Soto's best position, at least for the Yankees, because the Yankees stay in right field, is right field. Will Judge play left? That might be the option. Again, you're not going to let that even make you hesitate at doing what you need to do to get Soto. You're getting Soto, and you're figuring it out. Now, maybe Judge goes to first. Maybe Soto goes to first. I think in the offseason preview episode, I suggested they do Soto at first. Now, what's the appeal for Soto to the Yankees? Well, yeah, the Yankees can give him a huge contract. Will they outbid the Mets? I don't know. Will they be really close? I would assume so. The Yankees give him, like I talked about, that ability, that high confidence, that reliability that they're going to be a highly competitive team for the length of a contract that he's going to sign, whether it's 13, 14, 15, 16 years. How far are they willing to go? What if Steve Cohen's like, no, I'm getting this guy. I'm going to outbid you by you're going to 15 for 600. I'm going to go 17 for 750. I'm just throwing out crazy numbers. My point is, at what point is there a point where Steve Cohen and the Mets would go that's so much higher than the Yankees? My guess is no. That's not really how teams are going to run. That's not how the Mets are going to run their organization. That's not how they. It's not the kind of a precedent you want to set. You want to be like above market value in this situation, but you don't want to be like changing the market value. So, as a Yankee fan, I'm nervous about it. I don't know if he's going to be back. People get into like, oh, what does he care about? Does he want the brand? Does he want being, what it means to be a Yankee? Who knows? Then everybody just assumes, oh, he's Dominican, so he must be, he probably wants to be around Dominicans. I mean, I don't know. Maybe a lot of people, we all feel like we're comfortable with people that are similar to us, people from similar cultures, from similar nationalities and backgrounds. We definitely, as humans, gravitate towards people that are more similar to us culturally. That doesn't mean that he prefers to play with the Yankees over the Mets because the Bronx has more Dominican people than Queens. I mean, I don't know if that's true. I have no idea. But even if that's the case, like Bronx to Queens, are we serious? We're still talking about the same city. So maybe he really liked him and Judge duo. Maybe he really enjoyed that. Maybe he bonded with the roster. Maybe he bonded with Judge and Cole. And I was going to say Glaber. Glaber's probably gone. But maybe he bonded with a lot of the guys on this roster, Volpe and Oswaldo, and maybe he really likes Boone. Maybe they developed a good relationship. I don't know. Maybe the Yankees just offer him the most money. Or maybe it's close enough and he decides, I like being a Yankee. I'd rather not change teams again. I really felt at home. I liked the way they treated their players. I liked the way they treated my family. I'm staying. I felt like we have unfinished business. Who knows? Anyway, that's the Soto. That's going a little bit detail on the Juan Soto free agency. Yankees obvious fit. Mets probably the best fit in terms of positional and stylistic and financial. They check all those three boxes. The Yankees, it's not the greatest fit for the Yankees positionally, but you just make it work, of course. And the Phillies financially is a question a little bit because of the high salary players, and it's not as clear as their desire to spend on Soto is not as clear, at least not publicly. And then the defensive situation positionally, it's not an ideal fit, but the lineup stylistically might be the best fit of all three. Okay. I teased a personal situation of mine that happened a few days ago related to being a sports fan. So when I made a note of this, as it was happening, I was envisioning talking through this with Sistad. So I'm going to be talking through it from my thought process and kind of just posing it out to all of you, to the audience. On Saturday, Jess, my wife, decided in the morning, she says, I want to get sneakers. Okay. Let's go to Dick's. Okay. I hate shopping. I don't want to go. But I'm just saying, I'm just going along with it because, I think most husbands or boyfriends, you just go along with things. It's part of being in a relationship. They go along with stuff that she's going along with stuff. You know how many times I have sports on and she's going along with it? So we get to Dick's and we see a line like by the door. We park, we're walking in and we're like, what's going on here? Is there a line to get in? Why is there a line to get into Dick's? We get close to the door, we realize the door. You just open the door, walk right in. So I'm like, I say to Jess, I'm like, no, there must be someone coming here. There must be like some like meet and greet or something. I don't know. I didn't think much of it. I'm like, all right, maybe someone's signing your shoe. Or I don't know. I didn't think much of it. And then there's signs everywhere that Garrett Wilson's going to be there for a meet and greet. Jets star wide receiver, Garrett Wilson, the amazing New York Jets. Garrett Wilson is awesome, by the way. As much as I hate the Jets, I don't hate the players individually. I hate the collective group. So Garrett Wilson's an awesome player. Seems like a great dude from what we could tell as a fan. So Jess says, well, we find out it's a meet and greet. He's signing autographs. He's going to be there at 12 o'clock. We're there at like 11:45. So Jess says, "Why don't you get in line?" And I'm like, I don't know. What am I going to do? What does a meet and greet do? Like, what am I going to? Hi, Garrett. I'm Andrew. And then she says, "Well, what about for the podcast, the Instagram? You could like post a picture with him for the podcast Instagram." And I'm like, you know what? All right, that's actually a good idea. I'm thinking like, yeah, that's how much I like this podcast. Is I'd be willing to do something I wouldn't normally want to do. So I'm thinking about it, maybe. And then I look at the line, but in the time that we got there, the 10 minutes between when we got there and the time I decided to check the line grew significantly. I mean, it was growing exponentially. I asked the guy that worked there, "How long do you think that line's going to be?" He's like, "Probably about an hour and 20 to an hour and a half." So I was like, "Okay, thanks." Walked around the store, going back to Jess, still trying on shoes. Deciding what color she wants. For some reason, asked me. I say go with the white. That was a mistake, by the way. Big mistake. She's worried about it getting dirty now all the time. Big mistake. I did not think that one through. So she's asked me, like, "You don't want to wait? Like, is he a good player?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's a great player." She's like, "So why don't you wait? That's really cool." And I'm saying, like, I can't do that. She's like, "What do you mean you can't do that?" At this point, I'm also texting Sistad about it. I'm texting one of my Jets fans friends, one of my close friends, Mike, about it as well. And like everyone's kind of asking me, like, why wouldn't you wait? Like, I can't do it. I can't wait an hour and a half in line. Just the concept of waiting in line just to meet another person. Like, it's just a dude. Yeah, he happens to be an amazing football player and he plays on the Jets, but he's just a guy. He's just another human. Like, I'm going to wait in line over an hour just to say hi? Like, I just can't, I can't wrap my mind around it. I'm thinking about it. I really am against the idolizing celebrities, putting celebrities on a pedestal as if they're bigger than everyone else. I was telling my friend this. I was texting him about it. And he kind of laughed. I made a joke. He's like, a joke, but it's actually a good point. He's like, yeah, waiting online for an hour and a half, that's way too much. But talking about him for an hour and a half, that's okay. Got me. I laughed. It's funny. It's true. Why is it's just I for some reason deem that to be okay? I think it's kind of funny. It makes me seriously question the whole thing. It also makes me question why I'm doing this. Not really. I just deem that talking about sports, talking about what a celebrity does, their craft, to be okay, but being overly obsessed with a person, overly into the person. Like people do this with like musical celebrities, with actors. Like we have to know everything about their life. We have to criticize everything about their life. We have to take pictures of them while they're walking in public. All that stuff. I'm against that. I'm against the idolization of celebrities. We put too much stock in our society too much emphasis on celebrities. Why else do they have to endorse presidential candidates? Why should that matter? The answer is it shouldn't, but it does. It does impact people's views and opinions. Question to the audience. What would you do in that situation? Would you have waited? Would you probably have already been on social media seeing the Jets' social media accounts and knew that he was going to be there? Which I just happened to be there. Crazy. Would you wait? Do you think I'm not a real diehard fan? Am I not a big fan? Did I let down the podcast? I was going to meet him and ask him to come on. So, yeah, comment below. I would love to hear your feedback on this. All right, I want to wrap this up. I know I've been talking for like an hour on my own right now. I did not expect this to go that long. So for those of you that are still listening to me talk, I appreciate it. We have subscriber questions. No Let's Mock New York Fans on Twitter segment without Sistat, of course. Subscriber questions at John Desson. asks, are you guys going to talk about the Jake Paul versus Tyson fight or combat sports in general? Okay. So the reason why I chose this question and I wanted to bring it up is because I think it's a good question. There's a story, there's something I want to talk about related to the question. Podcast. First off, the answer, John, is no. If Sistad was here, he would say no also, and I'll tell you why. We appreciate the audience. We appreciate that everyone has in their interest. But the number one thing that I've learned from reading, from listening, from all sorts of research about podcasts is you will not be successful if you're not talking about things that you are passionate about and knowledgeable of. I cannot talk about combat fighting. I cannot talk about Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson because I don't know anything about it. I didn't watch it. I didn't think about it. I didn't care about it. I respect it as a sport. I respect the UFC as a sport. I respect boxing. I'm not into watching people fight. I'm not. It's not my thing. I also have too many sports I'm so into, super into the weeds in, that I don't have enough time to expand or add more sports to it. I can't, and just I would say the same thing, is we don't want to spend time talking about something that we're not knowledgeable of or passionate about, acting like we are. If you're a big UFC fan, you get no value in me talking about it. I don't know what you know. You want to pose a possibility to come on and talk about it? DM us on Instagram. Comment below. I'm open to it. I know someone is trying to do a golf episode and be the guest and talk about golf, and he's okay getting us ridiculing him about golf. For the audience out there, speaking of this, we're still in the early stages of this podcast, right? For all of you that are listening or on Spotify, watching on YouTube, or maybe you're watching a clip, we appreciate you tuning in. Whether you've been with us from episode 1, or maybe this is your first episode, maybe something along the lines of New York Yankees morning, the season episode got you in. Maybe Sistad talking about why he hates New York sports or why he hates the Yankees fans. Maybe that brought you in. Maybe it was one of the Jets bonus episodes that brought you in. Maybe you liked us talking to my friend Jack about like why dudes don't like sports, what's wrong with them. At any point that you started tuning in to this podcast, we appreciate it. You've been part of the infancy stage. As a consumer of podcasting, I've realized, I thought about this, I've never grew with a podcast from its infancy stage on. I've gone back. I listened to John Boy's Talking Yanks. I listened to some Joe Rogan. I listened to a bunch of podcasts. I've gone back at some early episodes to check it out, especially since starting this one, to kind of see what they did and what they've done as they developed. I never grew with a podcast, and I think as a consumer, that's kind of cool. So I want all of you to feel connected, like to grow as we build this up. I don't know what this will become. Maybe it gets to 1,000 subscribers and stops. Maybe. That's fine. Maybe it gets bigger. But I want to share with you our thought process, specifically my thought process on why I'm not going to talk about things that I'm not passionate about and knowledgeable of. And Sistad and I have talked about this, so we're on the same page. So thanks for the question, Don Desson. I wanted to use that as an opportunity to kind of explain my thought process, explain why we do and don't talk about things. So I hope that makes sense. But it'd be a disservice to UFC fans if I was talking about UFC. I promise you, I don't know what I'm talking about. Same reason I'm not going to talk that much about college basketball. I get into it March Madness. I don't watch it throughout the season. Last subscriber question, and we'll wrap up this episode at Linden6501. I was listening to your last episode and I couldn't believe that Andrew couldn't name 5 rappers. Does he live under a rock? I had to conclude this one. This is good. The answer is kind of. When it comes to certain topics, yes. When it comes to music, Absolutely. When it comes to movies, I'm like, I have my head like slightly above the rock. There's certain things I'm interested in outside of sports. There's certain things outside of sports I'm very interested in. Philosophy, sociology, why people are the way they are, why we communicate the way we do. Very into critically thinking about things, nutrition. I have interests outside of sports, but yeah, I'm not. When it comes to music, yeah, I am under multiple rocks, probably a boulder. Now that said, I could probably name 1 or 5 rappers in the moment. I was struggling. I was also playing it up a little bit. Now you might not believe me. You might really think I don't know. That's fine. I was playing it up a little bit, but I cannot not forget about naming people. Like I can name some random celebrity. I don't know anyone. You want to give me before Taylor Swift started dating Travis Kelce? I knew the name. There's no way I could have like if I saw a picture been like, oh, that's Taylor Swift. No chance. Like you want to name a bunch of people. I don't know. For some reason, Kesha comes to mind. I have no idea what she looks like. If she could be right in front of me, I'd have no idea. So, yeah, I do live under a rock a little bit, I guess. I love sports. I have some other interests, but yeah, it's not my thing. And again, like tying into what we just talked about, I have no problem to acknowledge that there's certain things, certain topics that I don't know about. And if I'm talking about it, no one's going to want to listen. Well, that was fun. First time I did an episode on my own. If you're still listening, you're still watching, you haven't had enough of me, I appreciate it. If you liked the video and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Like. I post a couple questions. Give us some comments. Give us some feedback. What do you think about what I asked about Joe Douglas? Is there a point to where it's okay to just not be a fan anymore for that season or forever? How about the Garrett Wilson situation at Dick's Sporting Goods? Would you have waited online? Am I not a real fan? Am I just overthinking this? And like, you like the player, like wait in line. There's no like idolization of a celebrity. Maybe that's how you think, because I think that's a legitimate thought as well. Give us your feedback. Comment below. Give us some questions for subscriber questions next week's episode, which Sistad will be back for. Anyway, thank you. Please subscribe. We're just getting across 500 subscribers. Please subscribe. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Philly pride insists that's all. Andrew Rappin and Wild Bulls. Together they talk sports and dreams. Right behind the scenes. It seems. Phillies and wide. Hear the call. Who's the greatest? Who will fall with this rivalry? Loud and clear. Join the chat. It's time to cheer. Sports and culture all in one. Catch the fire. Feel the fun. Andrew